In the last video, we learned how to make a global. So in this one, I want to go ahead and make a GUI that accesses that global and displays some of the data in there. Right now, we just have the score. Later on, we'll have the number of lives we have left or whatever it is that you want to store here that saves between scene to scene. So I'm going to make a new scene here. We'll start it off with a canvas layer. Now, canvas layers are kind of cool because when we have them on our scene, it'll always be the size of our scene. And it'll move along with our camera, regardless of where the camera is. So I'm going to come into here. Let's add a label. We could get fancy and go with a margin container, but I'm just going to keep it simple. We'll go with the label. I'm going to change this label to LBL score. And for now, I'm going to keep the score here. And I just want to have a dummy score, so I'll say 1000. I'm essentially trying to look at how big is it. So we'll change the canvas layer to GUI. And if I look at the overall size, let me see here. Where's my blue line? Right there. That's pretty small. I'm going to have to make that text bigger. So I'll come all the way down, just like we've done before. Theme overrides, font sizes. Let's do 48. How big is that? Maybe a little bigger? I think I'm fine there. And I'm just going to move it just a little off the edges. Yeah, it's bothering me. I want 64. Change it to the size that you like. For me, it's 64 right now. All right, I'll save that off. I'm going to save it in scenes. Now I'm going to add a script to it, and I want to add it to its root node, the GUI. I'll leave it as GUI. This one we save inside of the scripts folder. Nothing new here. And of course, I hit cancel again. Am I the only one that's used to OK being on the right? Now, I am not going to have anything here. But what I am going to do is create a function. I'm going to call it update score. I do not return anything. And all I want to do for this part is just go take my LBL score.txt and make it equal to something. In this case, I could say global.score, because we do have access to it because it's global. But one thing to note is that inside of here, we've made it an int. And the text property of our label, it has to be a string. That's fine. We've got a way to convert that really easy. We'll just use the str function. There we go. Converted. I'm going to go ahead and save this off. Come over to our main view. Go into the 2D view. Then we want to add it. So I'm going to say plus, whoops, not plus, sorry, the chain link, because we want to instance it. I'll add it in. We can see it here. I'm just going to do a quick run through to show you that it stays there. So as we move, it's always in that corner for us, even as we jump. But I need a way to be able to access it and tell it to update. And there actually is one more thing I want to do in the script. In the ready function, I want to make sure that I'm resetting it to 0. And I'll just copy this and we'll just set it to 0. And one quick run just to see that is now starting off instead of at 1000, it starts at 0. All right, so how do we call it? Well, there's lots of ways we could call it. One is we could send a signal out. I like my signals. Another way is, let me see, when we have this coin, when I go ahead and tell it to update the global score, I could also just call the update on my GUI. Personally, I like to leave things uncoupled. So we'll just go with a basic signal here. And I'm going to add that to my global. So I'm going to create signal. I'm going to call update score. I'll leave that there. Come back into coin and we'll call that. So I can say global dot update score dot emit. And then inside of our GUI, and then ready, I like to do my connects at the very beginning. So connect, the function I want to connect to was update score. And the function I want to call every time I see this update score being emitted will just be the update score method. Now take note, the autocomplete puts these parentheses at the end. We have to get rid of them. We need the first one to close the match off with this one. But what's happening here is we're taking this method name and matching it with this one. And this here was actually supposed to be a string as well. There we go. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's working now. This is probably the easiest way to do it. It's not my preferred way to do it. We'll look at that in a second, but I'm going to finish this off here. If we start it up, if I got everything hooked up right, it should just work. So I'll start it off as I run around 3, 6, 9. You know, that works. Everything's updated. But one of the really cool things with signals, if I come back into the coin, actually, let's come back into the global. I can actually emit a value with it. So let's say we did not want this to be accessible, or at least not show up inside of the autocomplete. And we could do a whole get set thing for it, but we could set a new function up here. I'm going to save this one off. I'm going to come into my coin, and instead of doing this now, I'm going to comment this out. What I'll do is I'll put the value here. I'll save this off. So now when I emit my score, I'm going to pass the value out instead of updating my score. And then if I come into my GUI, I'm still listening for it. I need a value in here now. And again, I like to type it as int. And I'll come in here and just say, let's see. If we put score up here, this will be the easiest way. So var score is equal, and again, I want to make sure it's an int. It's equal to 0. I can say score plus equals whatever the value was that I was passed in, and then convert this to a string and save it. By doing it this way, our score value is no longer stored inside of the global. So that means every time we go to a new level, the score is different. So this could be used for, let's say you're collecting items on a level, and when you leave that level and you come back, you want to make sure that you reset the number that you've collected, and you'll have all of them respawning again. So there's 2 ways to do it. I've shown you I should say I've shown you 2 ways to do it. Pick the one that you think works best for the scenario that you're working in. For me personally, I like the first way because I want to keep my score, at least in this little demo, I want to keep it global from scene to scene. So I'm going to do a little bit of reverting here, but again, pick what's good for you. I just want to double check I got everything working right here, and I've already messed it up. And that's because of my GUI. I got to grab my global score. But that's it for the basis of our first GUI. And I've still messed it up. What have I messed up? I'm going in, grabbing global score inside of my coin. I'm increasing it inside of global. Everything is saved. And let's get rid of this because I'm not expecting any values now. Oh, look at that. I've done screwed something up already. I'm not calling update score, am I? I am not. So global dot update score dot emit. There we go. Now, as we start adding more elements to our GUI, we could just have one method that says update GUI, regardless of what it is. Maybe we get an extra life or whatever. I like to keep the elements that I'm updating individualized. I don't mind having extra signals, especially if it gives me the power to update only the things I want. But I'll save this off. This should fix the error I just made, and there we go. Anyway, let me know down below what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.